Welcome back to abettersociety.info. This is our 14th video in our regular series and the third dealing with what we're calling class-based societies. Now, in increasing our understanding of these class-based societies, we want to talk about a little bit more of the transition between the hunter-gatherers and this new way of organizing people in groups. And a major thing that happened was that they started to see that with agriculture and animal husbandry, you didn't have to be a warrior to do some of the work. In fact, some of the really important work, that is to say, grow the food. And so they developed classes of servitude, involuntary servitude, and they also developed slavery. Now, in the past, if hunter-gatherer, a bunch of people went out and conquered someone else, then they'd just kill them all off, men, women, and children. Because they weren't after the people, they weren't after their culture, they were after their natural resources. So you see slavery coming on within societies right along with farming, agriculture, animal husbandry. And we also see that there are different classes of people in terms of who's in control and who's not in control. That would say that we have rulers. And the rulers had life and death control over the lesser types. And this happens in pretty much all of the places where agriculture and animal husbandry developed within these class-based societies. When the English came here to Virginia, the Powhatans had agriculture. They didn't have much in the line of animal husbandry, but they had corn and beans and squash and other things that they grew. And they were a class-based society. They had slaves, and they had what the English called the lesser types. And they had aristocracy pretty much based upon if you were born into the ruler's family, then you had a better life than you would have if you were born into a family that didn't have much. And there was reported by one of the Englishmen that there was one of these ruler types carrying on some kind of negotiation with the English, and some other Indian came along and bothered him, and he took a club and killed him, and they just drug his body off, and that was it. And we see the same thing happening in the history of Japan, where if somebody bothered one of these samurai guys, out comes the sword and off goes the head. And in Japan, you see the same pattern of clans, which would be like tribal groups. And if one clan conquered another clan, they'd kill all the people off, men, women, and children. So all over the world, we see the pattern, and that evolved along with agriculture. And so, it was all over. And like in, let's see, W.S. Holdsworth, in his History of English Law, that's a 3-volume set published in the early part of the 1900s. He documents the similar types of situations in the early history of England and the British Isles. So in his works, he tells us that in the different levels of society, each level of society was only allowed to eat certain food, and they all had to wear different types of clothing, so that they would know, okay, are you an unfree person? Are you a villein? Or are you a thane? Or are you a knight? Or are you one of the rulers? So that the clothing became important in identifying where you were within society. And early in the history of these things, there wasn't any up or down mobility. I mean, if you were born a villein, you're going to stay a villein. And if you were born into an aristocracy family, then that's where you lived. That's where you stayed all your life. So these patterns come to us down into history, and it's important for us to start understanding the patterns so that we can understand how these things continue today in various different forms. and they have a lot to do with the conflicts that we have in the world today. And they have a lot to do with the economic poverty of a lot of people and the illiteracy. And so there's a lot to be learned, a lot to be understood that we're really not studying and looking at today. And if we're going to make the world a better place, we need to understand these things better. So I will sign off and talk with you later.